Welcome to Take 5, your 5-minute inspirational message from Solid Rock Drogheda. My name's Nick Park, and I'm taking us through a series of messages on the great prayers of the Old Testament. And we've been seeing how God moved consistently in answer to prayer and provoked his people and taught his people to pray well. And they led them on a journey of prayer where they got to be able to pray more effectively and see more of the power of God at work in their lives and in their nation. And my prayer is that as we go on our journey of prayer together, we will see God moving more in our lives and in our nation. And we've been looking these last few lessons at Samuel. And, in 1 Samuel chapter 12, the Israelites had insisted that they needed a king. And Samuel had taken that to the Lord, and the Lord had said, okay, look, that's what they want. Yep, give them a king. Let's give them a king. And then in 1 Samuel 12:16, Samuel says this to the people, "Now then, stand still and see this great thing the Lord is about to do before your eyes. Is it not wheat harvest now? I will call on the Lord to send thunder and rain." That's totally unexpected weather in that season. "And you will realize what an evil thing you did in the eyes of the Lord when you asked for a king." And then Samuel called on the Lord, and that same day the Lord sent thunder and rain. So all the people stood in awe of the Lord and of Samuel. And the people all said to Samuel, "Pray to the Lord your God for your servants so that we will not die. For we have added to all our other sins the evil of asking for a king." "Do not be afraid," Samuel replied. "You have done all this evil, yet do not turn away from the Lord, but serve the Lord with all your heart." What's truly amazing here is this. Samuel prays that the Lord will show the people that what they had requested was not good. And the Lord shows that by what was considered by them to be a miraculous sign, that extremely, extremely unusual weather coming just whenever Samuel prayed for it to happen. And then they said, "Please, we don't want to die. Please don't let God kill us. We know we've done wrong." And Samuel says, "Do not be afraid. You've done this evil, but do not turn away from the Lord, but serve the Lord with all your heart." Samuel doesn't say to them, "God's finished with you." Samuel doesn't say, "That's it, you've blown it now. You're not going to get anything from God." He says, "Yes, you were wrong, but still, don't be afraid, because God still loves you." He says, "And you're still to serve the Lord with all your heart." And in fact, whenever the people did serve God with all their heart, then God used kings to bless them. Of course, when they turned away from that, then the kings became a curse to them. But God could use the kings to bless them. God gave them David. God gave them the Psalms. God gave them so many great things through the kings. Even though overall we have to say that the introducing kings into Israel was a bad thing, God still blessed them through the kings. You know what? Even when you end up in a situation because you made wrong choices, God's desire is still to bless you. And even though your track record is not perfect, God would still say to you, "Follow me with all my heart." And so what we see here is a prayer for revelation, that God would show the people what his will was. It's a prayer of correction, that the people would be corrected for their wrong desire to want a king. But it's also a prayer for grace and patience, that God would forgive them and God would still move amongst them despite what they had done. And then there's a wonderful bit in this prayer as well in verse 23 of 1 Samuel 12, where he goes on to pray, "As for me, far be it from me that I should sin against the Lord by failing to pray for you, the people of Israel, and I will teach you the way that is good and right." One of the great things about being able to pray and having this awesome power in prayer is we are to pray for other people. And, we can't just withhold that prayer and say, well, it doesn't matter. We've got a divine calling and a divine mandate to pray for people. And when we know that people need prayer and we refuse or neglect to pray for them, then we're sinning. That's what Samuel says there. He says, "As for me, far be it from me that I should sin against the Lord by failing to pray for you." Prayer is a joy, but prayer is a calling and prayer is a duty. And sometimes we can't do a lot of stuff for people when they find themselves in particular situations. And sometimes we don't always have the resources to help people, to protect people, to feed people. But we do have the resources to pray for them. And let's take that responsibility seriously in Jesus' name. Join us again next time for another Take 5, your 5-minute inspirational message from Solid Rock Drogheda.